masses out here trying to do it my way. Open up the Bible, had to go and see what God say. Now I'm on the come up in.
Yo, this is Coach B. Yes, sir. So Coach B got his first book. Yes, I written my first book, y'all. It's called The Vote Has Been Breached. I'm super excited about it. And if you want a copy, hit me in my DM and we're gonna send you guys a copy. Peace. All right, y'all. This is Coach B. Yes, we back with another one. I'm super excited just to have my brother here. I know y'all looking and saying like, man, who Coach B got now? Man, Coach B bump into a lot of entrepreneurs, people that also too that's doing a lot of things with business and just having a business adventure. So this is a podcast that we interview entrepreneurs, people of faith, people that just what I'm saying, just have a life story, a life journey that want to share. So I got my brother here, Dave, right here, and we just going to allow him to just to dig in about his business for us, his testimony, how he got in his business, just a little about what he doing, just a little about his life journey. So if you want the world to know, Dave, who is Dave and what's your business?
We are JSG Enterprises. We own an auction house. We buy liquidation. Generally, we get the big 53-foot semi trucks, so stuff that's like returns or overstock or whatever. We buy those trucks. They come into our facility. We download them, and then we list all of the individual items online. Some of it goes to auction. Some of it just gets listed on the standard e-commerce platforms. That's generally what we do. We're e-com guys. That's it. We're e-com
guys. It's the
guys.
best market too. Yeah. So how I met Dave was just it was strange, but also too on purpose, because like I was looking to get into pallets, flipping pallets, right? So I went on Facebook. I'm like, let me see what type of pallets I could get, and find out Dave had some pallets, that he was trying to get off, and the rest was history after that. So what made you want to get into that industry, like far as like the pallets and everything, like the e-commerce business? What made you?
When I first started, I started like everyone starts. Okay. I got to go back a little farther. When in like pre-2008 type far, that's way back. Way back. I started becoming my own business and things like that in real estate. And I owned about, by the time I was before I went broke, I owned about 30 houses, and was doing really well and stuff like that. And then the crash happened, so everything got wiped away. I lost my house, lost my cars, lost everything. Moved into a rental place that my parents ended up buying, and that ended up causing them to have some financial trouble because the housing market was so upside down.
Yeah.
So they had to end up selling that one, and then they ended up selling their house, and they moved out to Colorado. We were in California at the time. They moved out to Colorado, and then I kind of just followed them. My sister moved out here first, and then they came, and then I came, and then my brother showed up 2 or 3 years later. So actually only 2-3 years ago, not later. And then him and I had already started I was a reseller. So I would go to thrift stores, garage sales, and all that kind of stuff, and just buy people's stuff and then, flip it online. That's what I did. I also, I've always been a hustler. You have to hustle to survive.
Yeah,
I don't have a college degree.
Come on.
So, we got to do what you got to do.
Yeah, 100%. So are you from Colorado? Are you from
No.
All right.
I was originally born in New York. I was born in Queens.
Okay.
I lived most of my life in Southern California.
Okay.
So I know I have a little bit of an accent because during those formative years when you're learning how to speak, my parents all had the "what are you doing over here" kind of accent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So they lost it in California. I picked it up because I was a little one learning how to talk,
cool.
And I kept some words and I never let go of them. So that's why I have the New Yorker kind of sound sometimes.
I hear. So let me ask you a question real quick. So like in that moment where you lost everything, like why didn't you just stop? Like, what was your momentum to keep going?
What's funny is, it's not funny, but when I was going through all that, because it wasn't an instantaneous thing, it took a long time. I was kind of a friend of my dad we all went to the same church in California, and a friend of my dad's, my parents, good friends with them, asked me once. I was just out of the blue. Said, "Let's go for coffee. I'm gonna take you out to coffee." I said, "All right, whatever."
Yeah.
And he says, "I see that It just seems like you're carrying the whole world on your shoulders, And I was, I was just feeling down. I was just hustling, just trying to survive.
Right.
And you just have to. I had 3 jobs and I was working. My son was born in '09, so it was during that period of time and all that. And he told me, he says, you gotta learn how to let this stuff go. You gotta lay it down.
Come on, man.
The word says you lay it down at the foot of the cross. So
Come on. Let's go.
told me to do that, and from that point on, I was able to do it. It took a while,
Yeah.
thick-headed,
Yeah.
But I just couldn't carry it anymore. And I got big, broad shoulders, and I'm a strong guy, but there's only so much you can carry. You can't carry the world.
Don't let the camera fool you. He really is a big guy.
So, I mean, not Atlas. I can't carry the world on my back, you know what I mean? So I was able to do that, and it just kind of kept me, I understood that, you have to do what you have to do to survive, and you've got to work, and you got to just push forward. And I've always had in my mind, that I've always had dreams of being just huge, like not just millionaire. I want to be billionaire type status, you know what I mean? Because I think that's when I can do the most good. Whether I get there or not, who knows? But everybody's fantasy to be able to be financially independent. And at one point in time, I thought I was, having all those homes and that kind of net worth was in the grasp. I thought we were going places. Myself and a business partner were going places, and then everything just collapsed.
Wow. So you was really making big money from the.
Yeah, we were doing well, and we were buying properties.
Yeah.
And we were flipping properties, and then we were buying and holding, and that's where we got hit, was when we bought and hold, and people stopped paying rent, and then in California it's not really a landlord friendly state, so you're having to go through 9 months of litigation before you can get someone out of your own property. So if you take that in, and if 10-15% of your income is being held up, you're pretty much up a creek. There's nothing you can do about it. So that was that, and that it just I think I've always had it in me to be. I'm kind of kick against the goads when it comes down to the traditional job, and get a job, get a 401k, get some benefits. But I've never been that guy. Even when I worked for companies, I would still have, like, when I had to get back on my feet and start working again, I got a job as a courier. So I was delivering other people's paychecks, and I was really efficient on my route.
Okay.
So I was able to get another job that I did that in the morning, and I was able to get another job to where it would take me from one city to another city about 30 miles away. But in between, there were some cities, and at that particular time, it was '09, 2010, around there. There was a lot of foreclosures from banks. So the banks, what they were doing was they were paying people as sort of to monitor their properties, the foreclosed properties. My job was to drive by, take some snaps, some photos, and then, list a little description of what, if there's something needs to be done, like the lawn needs to be mowed, or someone broke in, or something kind of like that. And I was able to do that the way I would, create my route so I could do that along in between one delivery job to the next delivery job, and I would hit that, so I'd make extra money. Hence the 3 jobs.
Oh, so next question, not to cut you off, but like, tell me about your upbringing, for us, what made you switch in your mind? Hey, look, I want to go to the business side. For us, you growing up, was you the only, kid thinking like this, the way that you think around your peers? Just tell me a little bit, how were you growing up? What made you switch the mind to business and this person that you are?
Well, my father had his own trucking business in New York, and so he had a taste, and then of the entrepreneurial spirit. I believe that's where I got it from. You know, my dad, then he partnered up with my uncle, and they opened a restaurant that bombed. But they came out to California and they opened a restaurant, an Italian restaurant. But then from then he was a beer delivery truck driver for 35 years after that, because I think he got to the point where, he had 2 young kids at that point before my sister was born, and it's sometimes you gotta kick that to the side and just say, okay, I gotta supply for the family, and I gotta support the family. But I think it was passed on. I'm the oldest, so it kind of got passed down to me. I've always been someone that does something a little bit different than everyone else in the family. They can settle into a job that's making decent money with the golden handcuffs type of thing, and then they get the benefits and retirement. And if they're not forced into moving into something, then they settle in, which there's nothing wrong with that. And sometimes I wish I had that, but I could never settle in on that. Even in the 90s, late 90s, before I got married, I was a financial advisor. So I worked for, a big financial firm. And, I still didn't do things the way they wanted you to do them. They wanted you to make the cold calls and do all this, and showed up to meetings all the time. And I created my own way of doing it, and I did really well. And that's what I was able to go into real estate from there. But I don't know, it's just something that, I don't know if you're born with it or something that, I think it's something that you have sort of a tug that you're kind of born with, I believe, when you start getting into that, and it gives you the drive to keep going. Some people fall apart when they come across hardship, and some people keep going.
That's a key. That's a key thing what you said. Like, you got to be wired.
Right.
What you're doing. It got to be internal. It got to be internal.
And I think, though, that it can be learned, though. I think it can be taught, because, like, my brother is more, he was a corporate guy for a long time, and he'll be the first to admit it. But when he got out here, he started experimenting into, like, I brought him in, and we partnered up on some stuff, and now we run the business together, and he was at the corporate job. He then had to move on from there. So he kind of came full bore into this, and he's picking up the same kind of traits, So I think it's something that you never, even if you don't think you got it, like you think I've got to be a guy that works at the, the corporate job, whatever. I think if you're put in the right situation, you could probably pick up those skills, kind of forced into it.
Cool. So what's the ups and the downs of e-commerce? Like, what's the ups and the downs of it?
Ups is, I mean, you run your own show for the most part, you can make good money, or you can make nothing. I mean, it's kind of up to you. And then I say, well, the harder you work, the more you make. That's not necessarily true, because if you work hard and do stupid things, or you work hard and do the wrong thing that doesn't fit what platform you're trying to, to build, then you're going to bomb, and then you've wasted all that time. You know what I mean? And we're still in the growth stage. So, I think the most important thing to understand about what separates an entrepreneur from, because there's a difference, in my opinion, of an entrepreneur and a business owner.
Come on, let's go.
The business, just a strict business, you can own a business and not be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
It's not synonymous with each other. Well, if the business owner is the guy that owns a deli and wakes up every day at the same time and goes and does the same thing every day and provides for his family and does what he has to do, but never in his mind is the philosophy of scale. He's not looking to blow his business up. He's not looking to grow that into 15 other locations. He's looking to survive and to be comfortable. Entrepreneurs are never really comfortable. I'm never comfortable. I'm either going broke, and I'm freaking out about that, or I'm doing okay, and now it's time to go broke on expanding into something else. You know what I mean? Because you have to. And every business, well, not every business, because I think those that trade money for time, like service industries and things like that, are tough to scale. That's to say you can't scale them, but when you start to scale those, like, say, for example, a hairstylist, you're your own boss. You set your own hours. You do your own thing. You are at the beck and call of your clients if you want to make money. But there's no safety net, which is good. But it's really hard to. There's only so many hours you can work. There's only so much time you can put into it, And how do you scale that? Well, the next thing is to buy a salon. Well, then now you're not a hairstylist anymore. Now you're a salon owner, which is basically a real estate investor that has a bunch of people that you have to manage.
Yeah.
So it's a different mindset that you're in. My mindset is always looking for scale, and it doesn't have to be linear. It doesn't have to be like I'm in the e-commerce business. So how to make the e-commerce business bigger? That's not what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I'm looking at what supplies the e-commerce business to be anything. So for example, a real quick example would be like we do estate sales. So when we run auctions, there's always more to it than just running the auction. It's getting the product to us or getting the product out of here type of thing. So there's logistics, there's delivery, that's pickup, there's junk removal, there's all these different things that kind of influence what it is that you do.
Right.
And that's what I want all of that. I don't just want whatever. I want to be able to work with guys that are in the industry that feeds my industry, and in turn build my company around those guys, and eventually have JSG own a trucking company because it's a necessary. I get stuff comes to me. Why would I pay another dude to do it when I can get the money? Or if I have to pay to deliver something to someone else, why? When I can, charge them to do that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's the kind of like the next step. It's like finding those different areas. There's so many different fields within one industry that you have to look at, and your mind has to expand out into that.
Man, it's so key things that you just said. So many key things that you just said. But one of the things that stuck out to me is what you said was a business owner is different from an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur always looking for ways to scale.
Yeah.
And that's so true. Because just hearing you talk, man, and I'm just reflecting on, the businesses I started, right? And the things that I'm doing in the business. Like, I just don't want to just have a regular service, right? I want to maximize that service. Just like we got the box truck, right? We got the moving service. We got the junk removal, right? And the junk removal that we do get, all right, cool. We got some cool things that we can sell. So it's just maximizing the potential of that business. And man, that was a good nugget there. But I want to ask you also too, as far as like, all right, so you're looking to grow this business. Is there another business adventure that you're working on that you kind of like have your hands on that you get into?
Yeah, and it would be the junk removal side of it. The reason why is not to compete with you, because you're going to be part of that. We'll discuss that later.
Let's go.
The reason why is because an epiphany came to me. Actually, I'll be honest with you, it kind of came to my wife, because her and I talk, and she has to sit there and listen to me run my ideas. But my mind's always turning, so I have to get it out, and I have to speak. Otherwise, I get shut down. So she's unfortunately is stuck being the sounding board. She's got to listen to me blabber on about the same stuff over and over again. But she said, first off, like, why don't you charge for, like, I could go into a person's house. We're a little different. I mean, just to kind of clarify what I'm talking about. We're a little bit different than other estate sale companies. Most estate sale companies walk in and they look at everything, like if in this room or whatever they'll say, they'll put a sticker on this plant, they'll put a sticker on this table, they'll put stickers on these chairs, they'll put stickers on both of us, and then they'll sell everybody, they'll sell everything. And people come traipsing through the house, or if they run an auction online, they'll do the same thing, but everything would stay in the house. Well, we have the facility, so they can, especially when people are on a deadline to get out of their house, whether it's through a death or they're moving into an assisted living facility or they're just moving and they want to change what kind of furniture they have, and their house is closing. They got to get it out. They don't have time to run all that.
Yeah.
And they have the option to get it picked up and delivered to us. I've gone to their house and I said, okay, this will sell, this will not. I don't want it.
Right.
Yet for some reason, it shows up in my warehouse every single time. That same piece that I told them, get rid of it. Just go get the junk removal people to come pick it up, whatever. They think we're the junk removal people anyway, so they'll just load it up and it shows up at my place.
Yeah.
In the meantime, I'm going, okay, so what do I do with all this stuff? You know what I mean? I try to list it. I know it's not going to sell well or whatever. So now I'm stuck housing all this product. So, she said, well, you should charge them for that. Then I was thinking, okay, well, I can't sit there if I'm going to charge them for, charge a piece of the auction, my commission. I don't feel right about going in and saying, okay, I'm going to charge you for this up front and I'm going to take a piece of your money. Until it popped into my head, well, if you have two different companies, it doesn't matter at that point. You know what I mean? Because then I can say, we have a junk removal service.
Yeah.
Most of this stuff is junk, so this is what it costs to remove it.
Yeah.
Now, in order for you to recoup some of that money back, I'll get, because we also own an auction house or an e-commerce, so because sometimes they have really cool stuff that sells better on eBay than at the auction. So we'll list it for them and then, we sell it for them. Either way, if say the junk removal just for an arbitrary number comes out to $800 or whatever, but they have enough stuff that I see that I know we could sell, and I know we'll do well at auction or whatever. So okay, we're gonna charge you the $800 to move this stuff out of here, and then in the meantime, my guys are gonna bring the good stuff to me that I tag, and we're gonna sell that stuff, and you're gonna turn basically trash into cash.
Yeah.
And the trash that it cost you $800, you may end up on a positive. I may end up finding enough stuff that we sell it, and you may make a profit off of getting rid of all of your crap. You know what I mean? So that was kind of what she kind of threw that out there, and I kind of refined it and said, okay, I like the idea, and I decided to add that to the service because this last auction we did, a lot of that was done. We went in and we said, just bring it all. And we told them that the client, they were nice enough to bring everything but it ended up being like a lot of this stuff was stuff that just isn't in demand. It's not desirable. So how do you fix that problem? That's how we decided to fix it. That's why when I said about scale, it's not always linear. It's not about how I make my auction. How do I make my auction company bigger? Well, do more auctions. Well, okay. Well, there's two of us, running the auctions. How does that help?
Right.
There's only so many hours in the day, and otherwise I got to hire more people, and I don't want to hire more people to do that yet, because then I got to train them, and I got to do this, and I got to do that, and it doesn't make any sense at this point. So I said, okay, well, what if we contract with other people under the name of JSG and create an arm to the business that now we can generate revenue for not only another entrepreneur business owner, but for us, because we charge a little bit on top of that, keep it reasonable, charge a little on top, but now the stuff that doesn't have to show up at our facility, only the good stuff does. And we've just created a way to make things more efficient and automate certain things. Like only the stuff that has a red sticker I want in my warehouse. The rest of it, I don't care what you do. And in my opinion, at that point, I cut ties with it all because I'm still going to leave good stuff in there because it's not going to work for me. But say it worked for someone like you, and I said, okay, the stuff that's red tagged, that's their stuff they want to sell that I think is going to move. So you bring that to me. Everything else you keep. Do whatever you want with it. I don't care. So if you can make money off of that, then you make money off of that. And I'm not asking for any of that. That's for you. All I ask for is, you make sure make sure that the price is right and take that into consideration. You know what I mean? Because I'm compensating on the back end for those. And that's how an entrepreneur kind of thinks. In my opinion, I may be completely wrong, and some of the, the viewers think this guy's a complete blithering idiot and has no idea what he's talking about. And that's okay too. It doesn't matter, But for me, that's an entrepreneur thinks outside that little linear box and has to sometimes go completely out.
No, true. And sometimes we get delegated. Like some of the work that I do have, and I pull some of the individuals on there. different businesses, right?
Right.
The same thing that you do. And so it's all about delegating and networking too.
Right.
You know, I believe also what we do, you know, we come on jobs together, we collab on most of the jobs. So I think that's also two part of being an entrepreneur too, networking and
Right.
delegating. You know, and not just standing in this one box like, hey, we do everything, but nah, we can outsource some of the
Right.
stuff and you know and connect with other people. Yeah, that's super. All right, so question: if someone's want to get in the same space as you, what type of advice would you give them? What steps they can take, like getting in the same industry that you?
I think what the best advice I can give people, if you're talking about the e-commerce side,
Yeah.
walk before you can run. You know, start with garage sales, thrift stores, stuff in your house. You know, learn the platforms, learn
Okay.
eBay, learn Mercari, learn Facebook Marketplace, learn these different ways that you could move product and understand them. Learning keywords, learning search engine optimization type of stuff. So when you construct a listing, it's in the right order and with the right words, so it gets to the right type of people and it gets as far out there as you possibly
Makes
can get
sense.
it. And the platforms the algorithms will push you, But I think people try to jump ahead. They see a TikTok video on someone that's unboxing pallets and they're like, oh yeah, I just got this iPhone and I got this. It's like, no, they don't. Those are so few and far between, those types of things. And all of a sudden now they want to buy pallets. And then when they call me and they're like, oh, do you have tool pallets? And I said, nobody really has tool pallets. Yeah, so yeah, I can get you tool pallets. You want to spend $5,000 a pallet? They're like, oh, well, I was thinking $300. I'm like thinking, yeah, good luck. It ain't gonna happen. Understand what the difference between wholesale and liquidation and retail are.
Right.
Find sources, whether it's going to the flea market and making friends with vendors. If you want to sell clothing because it's the most, abundant thing you can, then learn with that.
Mm-hmm.
Learn before you can feel the need to jump in and start, buying up pallets and going broke. Because
Right.
I've had my share of bad truckloads, bad pallets, and there's only so many of those you can survive. Otherwise, you run out of money, you go out of business.
Right.
You always want to make sure you stay ahead of the product. But if you're in a place like, that you can garage sale all year, just do that for a while.
Right.
Understand, learn it, and then understand what is profit and loss.
Right.
What are COGS? Cost of goods.
Right.
What are these different terms, and how does that relate to what it is that you're trying to do? If you're going out and buying a pair of sneakers for $10 and you're flipping them for 50, okay, well, what does the platform take?
Right.
What is the taxes if you're
Right.
going to pay them, and all this kind of stuff like
Right.
that, and understand every little aspect of the business that you're trying to run, and then grow it. But don't jump in like, oh yeah, I'm going to buy a truckload, and you've never done it before, because you're going to be so buried and
Right,
under your
right,
head,
right.
over your head, you won't know what to do. And a lot of this stuff is junk that you're not going to be. And if you don't understand how to get rid of stuff and move product that you wouldn't even think you could move, then don't do it. You got to stick with stuff that, isn't going to bankrupt you. But like I said, walk before you can run. Spend the time, watch YouTube videos on these resellers and stuff like that. And there's people that stay in that same space forever.
Yeah.
They get comfortable. They make mid six figure, low six figures, whatever, and they're comfortable with that. And there's nothing. If that's what you want to do, then do that.
Yeah.
Me, I don't. I'll get bored just doing that. I gotta
Yeah.
do something else. I gotta
Right,
see
right.
it grow in some other way.
Gotcha.
And then grow from there. But always think in your mind, if you're gonna be an entrepreneur, understand the concept of scale. You must understand scale. What does it mean to scale? Is scaling in your nature? Do you want to be big? Because if you're not growing, the old adage is you're dying, and we're in these times of like, there's very few people, very few industries that you can make $1 billion by doing one thing. And that's generally like the tech industry. You invent something
Yeah.
And then, okay, yeah, you can make $1 billion and then never do anything else with your life again and just sit around and you never have to worry about money. That's fine. But that's so hard to do, so far, few and far between. Even like titans of industry always have multiple different irons in the fire. So understand business, understand the concept of business, and understand scale, because that's the most important thing in business. If you're going to be an entrepreneur, if you're just going to be a business owner, then, you know, find your sweet spot and sit there. But make sure that you understand that your sweet spot is going to shrink every year. This sweet spot starts here. Say it's $100,000 a year. Well, as $100,000 a year goes less and less far, now you got to make 120. You know, you got to make 150 to make that, to have the same lifestyle as 100,000 5 years ago. So understand that and go into it with the concept. If I'm going to sit in a sweet spot, I'm just going to be a business owner, or I don't want to work for the man type of thing, then that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But understand that you're going to have to scale to some degree, because inflation will eat you alive eventually.
Yeah. All right, that was good. That was super good. So, as we closing, like, how can the viewers find you? Like, if they want to, do some business with you, they got some stuff in their house they're trying to get rid of, or put on the auction. How can they reach you? And and just if you want to share anything with the viewers.
They can go to jsgliquidators.com.
Okay.
And then, kind of just gives a brief synopsis of what we do.
Cool.
It gives you a link of the current auctions and the past auctions and stuff that we had going on the Denver Online Auctions platform. And then, it's got a contact us page, which directly emails me.
Okay.
So if they leave their information, I'll get it and I'll reach out to them, and then we can hopefully sit down and have a chat, walk through their house and give a free consultation on what they can do and what they really can't do, kind of thing like that. Because everyone thinks their stuff's worth $1 million, and it's not.
It's not worth it. But y'all heard it from Dave. Y'all heard it from Coach B. We appreciate you guys just coming in and just spending a little time with y'all. So we'll see y'all at the next one. And we out.
They be Christian at broad day, cause my life in good hands like it's all state. Devil constantly trying to defeat me. They're not ready to worthy beneath me. I'm a child of the king, so we beefing. Watch me step to the plate and start